Hi guys, thanks so much for joining us today. We are talking about a very hot topic, of course. If you want to try and come to Australia, you probably want to try and get a job. Now, how do you do that? You start with getting your CV ready. And if you're just going to get your South African CV ready, I don't think it's going to quite cut it.
Not really.
Now, I've got Jolande here today, and she is an expert in the fields of CV. So, Jolande, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I have to just say a disclaimer, Jolande is a really good friend of mine, so we are so spoiled to have her here. We really appreciate you coming along.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been donkey years, hasn't it?
So, Jolande, can you tell our viewers what it is that you've done in the field of recruitment?
I have 15 years experience in recruitment and HR. I worked for a large engineering company in South Africa and also worked for a global engineering company in HR here in Perth. And also worked for agencies, which is really good because agency recruitment is quite different from internal recruitment. So yes, I have a range of experience.
She has got some really great experience and she is going to share all of that with us today. Well, not all of it, just some of it, but talking about CVs. And in general, what would you say the South Africans do that or could do differently in terms of when they look for a job here that relates to their CV specifically?
Okay. For South Africans, I think the biggest thing that I can see, and some of the information that I've pulled out today is actually that I pulled out from resumes of South Africans applying for jobs in Australia. And I think the main thing for me is to align your resume to the job that you apply for. Some people make the mistake and they have one standard resume and they just send it into a range of different jobs.
Which is, of course, the easier way to do it.
It's the easier
but
way.
Don't take the shortcut, guys.
Yes, you have to align the content of your resume with the content of the job description. And even if you can pull some of those keywords out of the job description or the job ad and put that in your resume just to show that your experience aligns with what they're looking for, that's really great.
Okay, now a quick one.
Yes.
CV or resume? What's the ideal way to call it?
Well, in Australia, you can call it either.
Great.
I prefer the word resume. I think the information, if you look up on resume, it's actually it's shorter, it's short and sweet.
Yeah.
And that's actually what we prefer.
Yeah, trying to spell curriculum vitae sometimes I think
I know.
puts people in a bad light because you think you get it right and then they spell it wrong and then
exactly that.
How do you guys look at spelling mistakes on a CV?
Yeah, that is if not the top thing that you have to look. Spelling mistakes, do not send a resume in if you did not do a spell check. And for Australian resumes, do use the UK dictionary.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
So S and not Z. For those kind of, I'm trying to think of an
example mobilization.
Now. Yes, that's
instead
the one,
of the Z.
Put an S.
Put an S.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So those are the general idea in terms of what to do. But LinkedIn, Seek, what would you say?
Yes.
How what's the go? How does it work? How do the recruiters actually find the people? What do they do?
Okay, that's a good question. The recruiters in Australia, and I guess it's the same in South Africa, relies heavily on an ATS. So that's called.
What is that?
It's an applicant tracking system, and it's actually quite clever. So when you apply for a position, your resume goes and sits attached to that position, but your resume also goes into a database.
Right.
And then, so the first thing a recruiter would do if they get a new position in from a hiring manager is they would search their database. And by being smart, what I meant is the system picks up keywords from your resume. So it's important that, as I said before, to make sure that you've got that keywords to align with a job ad. And same thing with LinkedIn. Recruiters use LinkedIn heavily in Australia to search for candidates, and the same with Seek. If you apply, and I don't know if you're familiar with Seek, but that's the biggest job board in Australia, seek.com.au. And if you go and you create a profile in Seek, recruiters will actually go in and do a search at the back end of Seek.
Ah, okay.
Yes, so very clever, but make sure that you update your resume in Seek quite often, because it looks at the last date that you applied. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very good advice. Thank you.
Thanks.
In terms of the actual layout of the CV,
Yes.
can you give us some tips on how people should be looking on what goes where, and the really the do's of how to get it as good as they can?
Yes, that's a good question as well. I've noticed with a lot of the South African CVs that I looked at, there's definitely quite a few things that can be done differently to align with the Australian resume. The first thing that I would do is if you have a visa, or if you're in the process to apply for a visa, I definitely put that at the top a bit of your resume where you put your personal information. It does make a difference when they look at your resume and they can see that you are, indeed in process to come over here. So that does make a difference. In terms of other bits and bobs, I would say if you put your phone number in, make sure that you replace the first digit, the 0, with a +27.
Of course, yes, because
Yes.
it's not a local number.
Yes, and you don't want recruiters, if they want to give you a call, or hiring manager, having to go and look up what the international code is.
Yes, true. Make it easy for them, guys.
Yes, that's really important. Make it easy. Yes, so definitely that. Also, at the beginning of your resume, provide a short summary of your experience. Definitely put in, if possible, the number of years experience that you have in relation to the job that you're applying for. And the reason I'm saying that is if a recruiter does a summary for a hiring manager, they have to page through your resume and go, have a look, how many years experience do you have?
It's almost like a tick box that
It
they got to
is.
do, a list of things they got to make sure that they...
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
it is. So definitely put that in and make the summary, again, short and sweet, just covering, just in a short paragraph, your background and experience. The other thing, there's quite a few things, so
That's good. We
Stay
want
with
that.
us.
Bring it.
stay with us. One of the things that I noticed in some of the resumes that I looked at, the South African resumes, is the qualifications and the software or computer skills are put at the end of the resume. So I would definitely recommend, in line with Australian resumes, to put that on the front page, especially software, computer skills. That's definitely a big thing. That's something, say for instance, you're in engineering or you're a designer, they're definitely going to want to see what software packages you've worked on.
Well, true, because these days, I don't think there's any jobs, or if hardly any, that do not require you to work in some kind of software. Even if you're
Yes.
like engineering, you'll have a software package to work on.
Yeah.
If you're in, even in customer service, you'll be working on software, front.
Yes.
If you're in a hotel manager or
Yep.
hotel reception staff, you're in the front. So that's a great point.
Yeah.
Make sure that it stands out so they don't have to go and look for your computer experience.
Yes, definitely. And one of the other things that I noticed is people would start their resume with their latest or their oldest job. So you really want to put your most recent job first and then work your way back.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yes, because I don't really want to see what you did when you were like out of school for the first thing. I want to see what you did most recently.
Yes.
Put the good stuff in the beginning, guys. Sometimes they don't even make the end of your CV. Oh, well, that's what I would think. You can
Yep.
tell us if it's any different. But if the first page of your CV is not going to cut it for them, these days they get so many CV applications.
That's true.
They're not going to keep on paging until page 20 to try and see if there's any
Yes.
good fits there.
Yes.
They'll just go, and if it's not in there in the beginning, it's probably going to just throw it out.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
good point.
Yeah, a recommendation. I've got it in my CV, and I'm probably going to give my age away now, but
Hey, we like people who are all ages on this program, especially if you're of a good 21-year-old
Yeah,
age
21.
like we.
So on my resume, I have a 1997 to 2005. I just put that right at the end of my resume with just one sentence to say, during this period, I worked in HR recruitment and I worked in healthcare. So if they want more information, that can be provided in an interview.
Yeah, because really, why do they need to go into the real granular detail of that stuff?
Yeah, and the old stuff. Yes. I think we're almost there. I've got one more tip for you. If you worked on projects, list that as well. If you're in engineering or construction and you're applying for a job and you worked on a big project, put the project there and add the value of the project.
As in dollar value?
Rand
value.
Dollar. Yes, add the value of the project.
Maybe not rand, maybe dollar. Do the maths yourself and put it in for the recruiter so that they don't have to go and guess what rand value is compared to Australian dollars.
Yes, exactly. That's also going to make it easier for them to match your skills up with a job, and they don't have to go back and forth to try to get this information for you because the hiring manager is going to ask the question.
Good.
So so that's basically it.
That's awesome. Thank you. So now we know all the stuff that you've got to put in. Give us the gory bits on what not to do.
Oh yes, there's a few of those as well. So the first one is, and I guess this is not just for South Africans, I think it's in general. When you apply for a resume, just make sure that you've got a professional email address and a professional email.
So not peter@thebeach@gmail.com.
Yes, or I love bunnies@gmail.com or something like that, because I've seen it. I have seen it. And parallel with this, voicemail. Make sure that you've got a professional voicemail as well, so if they're going to give you a call, that
if your first language is not English, probably a good idea to make sure your voicemail is in English.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, good point. You don't have to add your date of birth. You don't have to add the information. You don't have to add your family's details. So remember, we're trying to keep it really short. So cut that details out. Matriculation, you don't have to put that in. I've seen resumes where people have listed their subjects and their marks. You really don't have to put that in, and they're not even familiar with the matriculation term over here.
No idea what it means. Here you have year 12.
Yes,
That's what they call it.
Yeah, exactly. So don't put that in. For referees, also make sure that you have the international code, but just make sure that they know that they're on your resume. So if they get a call, that they know what it's about. And the last point I want to make is, remember we spoke earlier about how the applicant tracking system picks up on keywords. Make sure that your resume is in PDF or Word format. If you scan a copy in, it's not going to pick up those keywords.
Oh, good, yeah.
Yeah. So,
very clever.
Yeah, so keep that in mind.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
See, guys, it's easy. It's straightforward. If you just follow all these tips, I'm sure that you guys would have an interview on your table in no time. Just got to hang in there, keep going at it. And remember, you go through your CV, make sure it's fine, and then get somebody else to check over it, because spell check doesn't pick up on everything. You need to sometimes just get somebody else to read it and see that it makes sense for them.
Yes.
If you've been staring at the same document, sometimes the words start looking all the same to you anyway. So grab your friend, your mate, your mum, your colleague, if you're happy to share it with them, telling them that you're looking for another job. Let them read it through for you. Yeah,
definitely. And keep on going, keep on trying, and as I said before, don't just apply to jobs without a strategy. Have a plan, look at the positions you want to apply for, align your resume, and just keep on trying.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us today,
Thank
guys.
you.
Please comment below, what is the most important thing that you think should be included in a CV? And also, have you started looking for work yet in Australia? Are you considering doing it, or have you actually started putting yourself out there? Remember, you got to keep being in it to win it. So if you don't apply, you won't get the job. They won't come looking for you. You need to go and tell them that you're looking for work. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing all this wisdom.
Thank you. Thanks. It's
on behalf of all our beautiful folk out there, we appreciate you.
Thanks,
and we'd love to have you back.
Thank you so much.
All right.
See you guys. Bye.